It's Tuesday, the 29th of February. Liam says, I'll split Robbie's nose. Is he that desperate for coke? International hate figure quits. Is this man next? Branson bids for lottery. Will Virgin's balls drop? Please welcome, maybe, just maybe, Mr. Ian Lee.
Mime and body popping. Hello and welcome to the 11 o'clock show. Who wants to be a millionaire? Well, there's fat chance of doing it with the National Lottery. With odds of 14 million to 1, it's not so much it could be you, more we've got your pound now, sod off! 14 million to 1, it's as likely as me being sucked off by H from Steps. For a second time. And Richard Branson's now in the race. He's got experience of running a lottery. 13, 25, 43. Just how many minutes late is this Virgin train going to be, ladies and gentlemen? I don't know if you got what I just did there. Doesn't matter. Even if he doesn't win, the lottery will continue to change people's lives, like the wrinkly old Glaswegian single mum whose life was turned around one Saturday when she was asked to present Red Alert. It's Lulu, come on! Keep with me. Red Alert, why are all the lottery shows so terrible? I've got a brilliant idea for the BBC. Make the show a minute long and call it something catchy like, here's the numbers, now fuck off back to blind date. But enough of this lotto la-la. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Daisy Donovan.
Thank you. I like it. Now, it's the 29th of February, the one day when women are allowed to ask the question that men get to ask every other day of the year. Now, you should have seen the look on my boyfriend's face when I got down on bended knee and asked him if I could get a fucking word in edgeways.
Daisy, tell us what's coming up in tonight's show.
Will do. On tonight's show, our pop reporter Peter Piper picks out Blur guitarist Graham Coxon. We're joined by lovable rogue trader Nick Leeson and...
I'll be finding out whether it's right for kids to be forced to take drugs.
But now it's time for the headlines.
Tonight's top stories.
With the recent relaxation of the quarantine laws, thousands of British beagles have poured onto the continent to take advantage of cheaper cigarettes abroad.
The new rules have had a knock-on effect for customs. Drug squad dogs are said to be extremely busy, but very happy, sniffing other dogs' arses.
A girl was left in tears yesterday when her parents booked the wrong clown for her birthday party.
On their arrival at the White House, there is evidence emerging of the special relationship growing between the Spanish royal family and Bill Clinton.
On his tour of the Middle East, the Pope despairs as the head of the Egyptian church tells the one about the nun and the habit.
Especially for youth that I ordained a bishop.
The big talk in Westminster this week is Ken Livingstone. Will he or won't he? Well, the answer is no. He absolutely refuses.
But will he run for London Mayor? Who knows? But to give Londoners a chance to decide whether Ken's the right man for the job, we've prepared this special in-depth profile.
Contrary to popular belief, Ken Livingstone didn't always have a moustache. In June 1945, he was a newborn baby, and his middle name was Robert. The infant Ken instantly knew what London needed. Better public transport, improved housing and equal rights for amputees, jesters and dead people. 1969 and Livingstone had it all. 4 O-levels, membership of the Labour Party and a miniature snooker table. Ken's big break came in 1981 when he was made leader of the GLC. There he dressed like Jarvis Cocker. The press dubbed him as a loony, but to some he was a modern-day Robin Hood, taking from the rich to give to the bearded lesbians. After lots of ups and downs, Thatcher got annoyed and no one could save the GLC. Even Blair couldn't help.
The GLC's in trouble.
With support like that, no wonder Ken's brimming with confidence. Red Ken Livingstone, the man for London. Oh, thank you, thank you. Daisy, I need to ask, who's the most famous pop star you've ever met?
Well, you've heard of the Rolling Stones, I take it?
I certainly have, yes.
Well, I met the drummer from Huey Lewis and the News once. Got that?
Well, I can't begin to, Daisy, but our pop reporter Peter Piper can. You name them, he's met them, and here he is meeting them some more, as I'm sure he's about to say.
All right, you old cockers. I'm Peter Piper, and I've met one or two pop stars in my time. And this week, I went out and met a few more. Who are you?
I'm Alex out of Blur. I play the bass.
Tell the viewers your name.
Oh, Graham
Graham.
Coxon.
I've got with me here Jem Archer, who is the... Now, I was wondering about that. We were having a little discussion about that,
Well, you
weren't we?
waited till the cameras were rolling before we were just about to sort
I
that
did.
one out, didn't you?
Yeah, John Lennon, like a few years ago, because I'm a lot older than I look like John Lennon, like he come and see me down the Wedgwood rooms, and he said, honestly, Peter, he said you're the best songwriter I've ever heard in my entire life. He said between you and me, he said you're better than me and McCartney. He said honestly, and he wanted me, right? He wanted me to write a song with him, but I said no. I said I don't want all the aggravation. Like, at the end of the day, I don't want to like bare my arse on an album cover and like have my mum see it. So, like, who's your favourite guitarist? Who are your influences?
Jimi Hendrix.
Really?
Yeah.
Jimi Hendrix was your. So he was a big influence on you then, was he, Jimi Hendrix?
I wouldn't even put myself in the same cup of tea.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
You know.
Because I was a big influence on him, of course.
On Jimmy?
Yeah. Because I actually met him years ago, like down at the Isle of Wight Festival, because just opposite Pompey.
That's right. The Doors were playing, weren't they?
So, like the Isle of Wight Festival, like you probably know the story. Like he went on after the Who, and he had to follow the Who. Like, and the Who hadn't really wanted to go on like before him. They thought they should be headliners. So they done an absolutely bloody blinding set, like. Yeah, they done a blinding set, like they smashed everything at the end of it, like, you know. And the Who just like finished their set and they smashed up all their equipment and all that. And Jimmy says to me, he says, how do I follow that? Right, he says, Peter, he says, how am I going to follow that? I said, well, what I'd do if I was you is I would start playing the guitar with my teeth, right, and then set fire to it, right? And, you know, the rest is history, like, you know. And, you know, I also warned him about the drugs and everything, but he didn't always listen, like, it's like that.
Forget Thailand or Vietnam. This year's trendiest holiday destination is set to be Ulster. The Northern Ireland Tourist Board plans to use the region's troubled history to encourage visitors.
They've even brought out this, the very rough guide to Ulster, full of useful tips for making the most of your stay. So let's take a look.
Before you go, prior to setting off on your Northern Ireland holiday, make sure you're well prepared and pack some sun protection.
Accommodation. There's a range of places to stay in Ulster. With the Maze prison almost empty, those on a budget can snap up cheap self-catering rooms in H Block. Even more of a bargain when you hunger strike. But be warned, amenities are basic and some holidaymakers have described the decor as depressing.
Activities. White knuckle tourism is big business. Australia has bungee jumping and Africa has safaris. Northern Ireland offers many attractions for the thrill seeker, including checkpoint jumping, bomb disposal holidays and the world's most nail-biting games of Pass the Parcel.
Weather. Northern Ireland doesn't have a rainy or dry season, but there is a marching season, during which you can expect a heavy downpour of rocks and petrol bombs. So take a hat, but not a bowler.
So to recap,
we travelled to Northern Ireland with Stormont Travel, and our 2-week stay in a self-catering RUC safe house cost £400 for a family of 4. Remember to notify your next of kin before travelling, and on the return flight, for God's sake, pack your own luggage.
and that was our guide to Northern Ireland tourism. A recent report has shown that every year thousands of unruly children are prescribed mood-altering drugs to control their behaviour.
It seems doctors are pumping our kids full of so much medicine, the average school band contains more drugs than Primal Scream and Steps put together. And they probably sound better too.
But is this really a bad thing? Here's my report.
Controversial new government guidelines will give doctors the right to treat badly behaved and hyperactive children by drugging them against their will. But will this lead to a society of well-behaved and orderly kids, or a whole generation of monged-out stoners desperate for biscuits? I've come here to London to find out. About this story in the newspapers today, that badly behaved children will be forced to take mind-control drugs to help them behave.
There's no such thing as badly behaved children.
Lazy fat kids who get bullied will be given steroids so they'll be good at running. but it's going to make them more aggressive, isn't it?
Godfathers. I don't know what the world's coming to. No, definitely not. It's down to diet, isn't it? It's down to their home background.
The thing about steroids as well is it will shrink their genitals and give them ladies' breasts.
Honestly, I'll tell you, what's the world coming to?
For the naughty kids, detention will involve taking really strong acid, so they're, quite out of it, while their teacher wears a scary mask. Surely these bullies need to be taught a lesson, don't they?
Certainly do.
You think that will learn them?
Yes, I do.
Studies have shown that by the age of 4, 80% of kids have smoked dope. And get this, by the age of 8, all of them, 100%, will have gone cold turkey at least 4 times. How do you feel about that?
Christ.
It's quite daunting figures that, I've just made up there.
Well, I don't know what to say. I mean, at the age of 4,
You were getting caned, and so are these kids, but in different ways.
Yes.
The Association of School Tuck Shops welcomes the idea of introducing more drugs into school because it will create lots of extra jobs to cope with the munchy demands of stone kids. That has got to be good for free enterprise, hasn't it?
Do away with tuck shops, or else just sell them fruit and nuts.
In some schools, the common room has been turned into what they call a chill-out room. It's got dolphin noises, crazy projections, and a small bloke playing drums in the corner. How do you feel about your tax money financing this?
I should think the money should have been spent in the first place to prevent it without getting to the stage of where you've got to chill somebody out.
Yeah. So there we have it. While the issue of whether we should give drugs to naughty kids is unclear, I've decided the only way to find out is to try them myself. This has been Ian Lee, the 11 o'clock show, London.
Psychedelic, man.
Easy.
Still to come in part 2, there's more. We meet the man who broke the bank, Nick Leeson.
But first, Ricky Gervais continues his series of insights into historical landmarks of the 20th century. Tonight, the Great War.
In 1914, the First World War divided Europe into 2 opposing sides. The Central Powers, Germany, Turkey and Austro-Hungary, and the Allies, Britain and her empire, France and Russia. Oh, and from 1917, America. This was a trench war, and despite advances in weaponry on both sides, it raged on for 4 long years. We are the dead. Short days ago we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders fields. I'll be honest, if you had a gun in your hand instead of a pen, you might be alive today, and the war would have been over by Christmas. Christmas! Oh, it's Christmas. Let's have a game of football in no man's land. Good goal, Fritz. Word of advice. Next time you find yourself up against the Germans in a big field, don't pick sides, pick up bayonets. When do we meet them in Euro 2000? June, is it? Don't let Southgate take one.
Welcome back to the 11 o'clock show. Still to come, Paul Garner reports on pet passports.
But first, tonight's top stories. Gordon Brown to give unemployed £400 each. They're laughing all the way to Pound Stretcher.
Liam to break Robbie's nose, if he can find it on his big fat face.
Copper killed by man with curry breath. Family to bury him next to his nan.
They did deserve it, Daisy, sorry. The feud between Robbie and Oasis is now officially the biggest rumpus in pop since Bono caught his nuts in the door of the Zooropa tour bus.
But why are they constantly at each other's throats? Maybe Oasis and Robbie are just too alike. They're all working-class lads made good. The media hangs on their every word, and every night, while Robbie's getting stuck into a pasty, Liam's getting stuck into a patsy.
But we say it's time this monkey business stopped. So, Robbie, if you're watching, Liam's threat seems serious. If you should find yourself crossing his path, here's our do's and don'ts on how to handle him.
Robbie, if you bump into Liam whilst queuing in the pie shop, do...
wipe the slate clean. Don't.
Wipe gravy from your chubby chin and moon him with your gigantic pie-filled arse.
If Oasis are playing in town, do.
Go along and enjoy the gig in an attempt to patch things up. Don't.
Stand outside with a whip and a top hat shouting, roll up, come see the amazing musical Monkey Brothers.
If Liam calls you in a rage and says he wants to meet you, do...
take along your hardest bodyguard. Don't...
Take Mark Owen. He's a simpering, limp-wristed, mincing spoon.
If he tells you to bring a tool, do.
Take a baseball bat. Don't.
Take Mark Owen. He is a tool, but he's still a simpering, limp-wristed, mincing spoon.
And finally, Robbie, if you are forced to fight Liam, do.
Hit him. Don't.
Eat him. He's not a pie.
And they were our do's and don'ts for avoiding pop carnage.
Now time to tell you about tonight's guest. After a few bad days at work, he realised he'd lost his company $1.5 billion, whoops, and became the world's most wanted man. He's spent 4.5 years in a Singapore jail, he's written a book, he's been played in a film by Ewan McGregor, and he's turned down a date with Trevor McDonald to be here tonight. Please welcome rogue trader Nick Leeson.
Hi, Nick, pleased to meet you. Sit down, take a seat. I must apologise, we'll talk about it later. Before we get on to things, tell us again exactly how much money did you lose?
£860 million, I believe.
Jesus, that's a lot of money. You could buy the whole Man United team and Old Trafford for that, or a brand new Millennium Dome, if you wanted to waste it. How much money were you actually making for Bearings?
I mean, it was reported early on that it was £50 million a year.
You were making them that amount of money?
No, it's fictitious. It was all fictitious throughout. I mean, because the losses were coming into different accounts, the accounts where the money was being made were being channelled back to Tokyo. So they could see sums of money being made, but obviously there were sums that were being lost they couldn't see.
But when you started losing that much money, I just can't comprehend. If I lose a fiver, I start panicking and accuse my flatmate of nicking it. When you started losing that much money, why didn't anyone notice and say, hang on, what's going on here?
I mean, I think you get to a stage where I was blinkered, but they were probably blind.
So you never had anyone phone up and say, Nick, where's that 20 million quid I gave you? Can I have it back now?
They used to do that every single day, but I'd just say tomorrow, tomorrow. Oh. And tomorrow never came.
What's the biggest amount of money you lost in a day?
£50 million.
What do you do when you go home? You can't put your feet up.
No. You turn off the phones and you try to lead a different life, totally. It's Jekyll and Hyde, really.
Were you conscious that you lost £50 million that day?
Of course, but yeah, I tried to avoid it when I went back in the evening, and it was the only way. It was the only way. It was the only way you could survive. I mean, you had the reality of the trading floor, and then the lie that I was living when I went home of an evening.
How did your bosses find out about your losses?
Only when I ran away.
Really?
Where's Nick? Where's all our fucking money? He's gone!
What was it like being the most wanted man on the planet?
I don't think I was really aware of it at the time. You'd see your picture in the newspapers and whatever else. So when I was on the plane coming back, everywhere would be my picture on the front page, and you just try to hide, and you just want it all to end.
Fair play. You must have felt really cool though, didn't you?
I was shitting myself every single day.
Just thinking, how much do you still owe now?
I've an injunction against me for £100 million. So.
Now, after you got arrested, people said you had millions stashed away. Where's the map? Come on, where is it?
I've lost it.
Really?
No.
Have you got? You must have
We'll
put
come with you. Come on.
You must have put a few quid
I can't
in.
remember where I put it.
But there is some.
No.
Cheeky, I love this stuff. But just to recap, you can't do maths, you've lost billions of pounds, you've got no money to show for it, and you still owe your old boss a fortune. Well, you're the man when it comes to financial advice that we're both looking for. We're looking to flutter a bit on the stock market. So can you tell us which of these shares we should buy or we should sell?
David Beckham may be about to leave his club. Should we buy or sell United shares?
Well, football shares are doing well, but I'm a big Man City fan, so that's a major sell.
Shares in thongs?
Not if Beckham's wearing them.
I can see why you lost all this money. I'm a Man City fan. You're putting your personal stuff first, man. Just go straight in there.
Loyalty.
Fair enough. The Queen is about to strip Prince Edward of his allowance because he doesn't make enough royal appearances. Should we buy or sell shares in his TV company?
I think the TV company's been losing money more regularly than I have, and others sell.
Supposing he made a sneaky skin flick of the Queen Mum, something like that. That would sell. Now, Rogue Trader wasn't quite the success it should have been, probably because Ewan McGregor was miscast. We think they should have chosen someone who's revered in the business world, drives a hard bargain and is always upsetting the market. Have a look. It's Ian Beale, actor Adam Woodjack. Ladies and gentlemen, Nick Leeson.
Ian.
Following the release of their new album, Oasis have again been criticised for sounding like the Beatles. Noel fumed, "I am the writer, I am the musician, I am the walrus, goo 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 goo."
A shop for left-handed people has closed down after serving just 3 customers in 5 weeks. The owner is planning to reopen the shop on the other side of the road.
More than 150,000 people are expected to line the route of Sir Stanley Matthews' funeral. In a mark of respect to the footballing legend, as the coffin reaches the church doors, the entire crowd will pull back and claim he's offside.
A school mistress is set to have a sex change operation. Several delighted pupils have offered to bring in an Adam's apple for teacher.
BBC boss is worried that the constant travelling is taking its toll on the round-the-world globetrotter Michael Palin. And that was the news just in.
Today saw the first British pets issued with passports leaving for the continent.
Here's Paul Garner with his report.
British pet owners were celebrating today with the end of quarantine and the introduction of the new pet passports. Initially, restrictions will only be lifted for cats and dogs, although soon these passports will be available for lovers of small animals. With the relaxing of quarantine laws, animals and their owners had tried increasingly more drastic measures to get into Britain. One man tried to slip by customs officers with an ostrich hidden up his arse. Animal rights campaigners have welcomed the introduction of passports for pets. Many claim the brutal regime inside Britain's quarantine cells has contributed to some animals starting their time as innocent, timid pets.
Please don't leave me here.
And then being released as hardened, aggressive animals.
Listen, nonces, I'm the daddy now.
At ports and airports around the country, some animals have struggled to come to terms with the strict laws that surround international travel. One passenger was severely reprimanded when he started to smoke before he was well inside the terminal building. Opponents of the new pet passports have brought attention to problems they foresee with the scheme. With English pets free to travel around Europe, they fear a repeat of scenes like this from Euro '96, when dog hooligans attacked police officers and hurled abuse at opposition fans. And fears that foreign animals would take advantage of relaxed border controls were confirmed yesterday, when 2 Dutch Dalmatians were picked up at Harwich driving a transit van full of illegal porn videos. This is Paul Garner, the 11 o'clock show in Dover.
And for more on that story, go back live to Paul Garner in Dover. Paul, what's the latest?
Well, Ian, in light of the new pet passport scheme, Channel 4 have made plans to broadcast a documentary about a group of English dogs on their first trip to Europe. They're going to repeat Ibiza Uncovered. All first-time British dog travellers have also been made aware that in many of Europe's top resorts, German shepherds tend to get up very early in the morning to claim the best poolside beds by leaving a shit on them.
Thanks very much, Paul.
Thanks, Ian.
That's all from tonight's show.
Before we go, a sneak peek at some rehearsal footage of the latest theatrical sensation to sweep the West End, Dr. Shipman, the musical.
1, 2, 3, and...
And finally, while you snuggle up in your warm beds, please take some time to heed this important charity appeal.
Good night.
Good night.
Hello. Hear that? It's your granddad. He's been locked in a cupboard. No blankets, no pillow, sleeping in a puddle of his own piss in a council house with mould in the Midlands. Sick, isn't it? You know it needn't happen. Please, please send some money now. Have a heart. Your own granddad. Don't be a cunt.